Deb just said that. All right, let's call the meeting to order, and those who are willing and able, stand for the pledge, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Was that you, Mrs.
Me.
Talbert? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Potts. All those in, well, did you want to say anything about the additions or no?
Just thank you to First Bank and Trust for their donation to the Arrowway. That was a donation we got this month.
On the approval of the agenda for like just
Oh.
Smith? Sorry.
No,
No. Okay. Sometimes
I
you
jumped
want-
ahead, sorry.
No, that's okay. All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda as is signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Visitors. We have some. Hello to all of you visitors. No? All right, we'll move on to number 5, the consent agenda. Anyone want any of those pulled out individually to visit about? 5.1 through 5.10.2. None of them? All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Weiss, and thank you, Mrs. Pels, for the second. Any other discussion?
this
Sorry.
is where I wanted to just say thank you to First Bank and Trust for their donation to the Arrowway. Appreciate their contribution and donation.
Thank you.
And then I just have a comment on James Skyberg. He notified me today that he completed his coaching certificate,
Oh,
which
good.
in case Ed for some reason can't be there, that he just said that he felt it was his duty to get it just in case he needed it. So
Good.
he sent me a message saying that he completed it, and so I said, do you want me to acknowledge it? And then he's like, it's up to you, I don't care. I said, okay, well then if you're not
We'll
going to say no,
acknowledge
then
it.
I'll say, yeah, that's a good thing.
It is
To go, above and beyond of what was asked, so.
Good job. All right, thank you. Any other comments, discussion? Questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as is, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to number 6, 6.1 administration, 611. Hello, Jackie.
Budget year to date. Looks good. We're at 24%. Last year we were at 24% at this time also. I know that down on taxes and special assessments, that object 896, that is going to have to be increased because that's for the street project by Hill School. When I did the budget, the city gave me an estimate, but since that time it's increased to about 94,000. So, just thought I'd make you aware of that. We haven't paid them yet, so therefore it's not reflected here.
That's a one-time payment.
Yes. If anyone has any objections, there's a meeting tomorrow night. Joking.
Also, the auditors are here.
Oh, yeah, the auditors are here. Waiting for me to get things done.
Okay, any questions for Jackie? Thank you, Jackie. 6.1.2, Mrs. Melnick.
Hello, this evening I'm turning my time for the school board over to my instructional coaches, or our instructional coaches. I claim them as mine. But I would like them to share a little bit about what's going on in the instructional world, so I will turn it over to Deb Versteeg and Joanne Alverson.
Okay. Welcome, Deb and Joanne. Welcome to the meeting. Yeah.
Is that mic on?
Mic up.
I don't know how to use technology. Yes, it's a green light. Well, we assume that since you guys were the ones that gave the last okay to the, having this position, that instead of focusing on what we do in our jobs, we're gonna focus on how we're doing these things. And that kind of starts with our training that we're doing. So we have partnered with, the districts and the entities involved here to have some professional training from the new teacher center. And we combine this into training with regions 6 and 8. And we will be attending, is it 10 days throughout this school year?
10 days of training. We've already done 2. The days fly by. It's just crazy. And our next 2 are in December. Members of the New Teacher Center also come here on site, and they'll be here in November to come and coach us as we learn our coaching skills. So we're working within a very tried and true program that has some very strong research basis behind it, and collaborating with many colleagues, which has been very valuable as we get started and start this journey together.
Okay. I didn't know if you were gonna go,
That'll be the signature.
I didn't know if you were gonna go ding.
The nice thing about the new teacher center is, especially for like somebody like me, coming in with not specific instruction in instructional coaching. I had my ideas of what it was, I've read about it, but not having that actual training. So the new teacher center has been fundamental in providing that. And the great thing is like you said, there's about 15 of us that are all going through the training. So we've got a great network. And when things are coming up, it's like, okay, how would you do this? What do you think about this? What is your perspective as an elementary teacher, as a middle school teacher, as a high school teacher, you know, as the curriculum director? There's all kinds of people that are involved in this. So you get lots of different heads all kind of working together. And we're learning how to use the resources that are provided with this. There's great ways to keep track of our things, our meetings online, and document what we're doing with the teachers so that it's something that lives between the two of us so that they can refer back to it, we can refer back to it, we can use it. It's just been a good source of information. Right now, it's been good. It's been doable. Day 1 is always down. But day 2 rolls around and then it's like, okay, now I understand. Now I get this. So it's been good for me.
We work with our staff in 2 different segments. One of them is our non-tenured teachers. So there are 18 of them in our program right now that we service. And we meet with them for a minimum of 180 minutes a month. So that involves one-on-one meetings with them, small group meetings with them, as well as observations in all of their classrooms. So that provides us multiple opportunities to raise issues, for them to raise issues with us, and for us to see in action just what's happening in their classrooms. Some of the things that come out of those kind of meetings is, you know, remember these are first-year teachers, some of them are second, and some of them are veteran teachers, but are new to teaching in PAS. And so there's a lot of different needs and different ways that their needs express themselves. Discipline with students, communicating with parents, those have been high on the agendas for what we're trying to do and work with them right now. Understanding Pipestone systems, our student management system, our discipline policies, how to get to the resources, curriculum resources that we access. We're doing this so that we can make them a better teacher as quickly as possible so that our kids can can continue to make student achievement gains. So we're hiring quality people, but we know that the learning curve can be very tough. And so that's why we're so intensive at this point in level, is that we're trying to help them not dip too low into that mire of, my gosh, this was much easier back when I was in college and doing these in my field experiences, and bridging that gap and understanding that in most professions, and especially in one that's geared in education, we have to constantly learn. We have to constantly keep the pace, and we constantly have to address student achievement issues, which are constantly there. So it's a constant process of support in a peer-to-peer collaborative relationship in which we're watching for specific things based off of the tools the New Teacher Center has offered us, as well as what they desire to bring to us and need assistance with. So lots of team teaching and peer-to-review kinds of things can happen, but there's never a double.
And I think the best part about this is when we meet twice a month as a group, because we're giving all of these new teachers to the district a chance to be together and to network with each other. And sometimes it's just really reassuring when it's like, okay, you don't know where the copy paper is? Okay. I thought I was the only one. You know, I mean, it's just, because when I started here, I got to know the people in my department really well. And I was the newbie in there, and they were great. But it's also kind of nice when you put all of us that are in the same boat together once in a while, because they have the chance to, you know, are you seeing these things? What questions do you have? And what have you tried that's working? You know, so they're not only connecting with their grade levels, but they're connecting with each other as well. And, you know, part of this is to get those strong connections happening here so that they have the support in all the directions that they need it. And then we also are working with our tenured teachers. That's looking a little bit different for the plain and simple fact that there's a lot more of them than there are new teachers. What we are doing with them is we're working with them on a quarterly basis at a minimum. And we're working with them right now, working through setting their instructional goals for the classroom, what they want to achieve. How they want to go about achieving that, what is that going to look like on the other side. We are able to, again, allow some co-teaching or team teaching to provide that for some of our newer staff, maybe to come in and watch them in action, or for them to go out and be able to watch a colleague in a different area so that they can kind of bounce some ideas off each other. We're also helping them a lot in the content area planning of what it means to really look at the standards that you're teaching and how to break those down so that at the end of your lesson, at the end of your unit, however you're assessing that standard, you have a vision of what meeting it looks like, what approaching it looks like, and so you've got those gauges, because one of the things that we're seeing with this is having the ability to break it down using some of the tools with our new teacher center makes it very user-friendly. I mean, it literally lays it out step by step. Well, what does, show me your best paper. What does that look like? Okay, the best work that you have. Show me, you know, the next one. And putting it into different categories so that they're starting to think in terms of, okay, this person has exceeded my expectations. This person is meeting what I put out in front of them. This person is kind of there. So what can I do to help these students in that group bridge the gap? You know, what can I do when I go back to these kids that are a little further away from where I want them to be? And what kind of support can I give them? And it's a different way of thinking, but it breaks it down so that it makes it very manageable and it doesn't come across as this whole other pile of stuff that we have to do. So that's what I think is very good with that. Reflection time, you know, how did it go? That's a conversation that a lot of teachers aren't able to have at the end of the day with everybody, so we can sit down and say, okay, tell me about your lesson. What was the best part of it? What parts do you want to tweak for next year kind of thing? And I think that, again, kind of gets them thinking in that growth mindset of how can I always be improving upon what I'm doing. So we're off the ground. Anything we missed, Mara?
No, you guys, do the school board members have any questions for them as of right now, what you saw this evening?
With the non-tenured teachers, you're meeting with them for 180 minutes a month. So is that individually or they? How is that?
We have one 30-minute meeting that's individual, one 30-ish meeting that is small group, and then around a 30-minute observation where we're directly in their classrooms, watching, observing, seeing what's going on, getting to know them as a person and a professional, and giving us context for which to say, we need to cover this at the next meeting. A lot of them are having trouble
Yes.
with this. Or to debrief with in the individual meeting that we have with them. So that's kind of how that breaks down.
So we meet with them twice.
Twice.
Individually.
Each one of
and
those
twice
things
as
we
a
do
group.
twice.
Yeah, so,
My math's Yeah,
Yep.
that doesn't add up, I'm saying to myself.
Twice a month individually and twice a month as a group, and then
Two
our
observations.
observations in there as well.
And it's observation and support, not evaluation.
Right,
Correct.
right. Observation, not evaluation.
We are on the opposite side of the evaluation cycle here. This is peer-to-peer, teacher to teacher. What is it that we need to work on together collaboratively for the sake of the learning that's happening in these classrooms?
And I think to build off that a little bit, that kind of brings in some of our success stories that we've seen so far. And some of my biggest success stories have been with the tenured staff. And usually it comes in the feedback that I get after the meeting, because they'll email me and they'll say, okay, I gotta tell you, I was very nervous about this meeting with you. You know, I thought you were gonna come in and give me all kinds of things to do, and that this was gonna be more work. And when we sit down with them and we say, what do you want to do in the classroom this year? It's not what I think you should do. What do you want to accomplish? What does that look like? How can we make that happen? And then a lot of times, maybe I go back and I look at what they're doing and I see if I can find something that I can put in front of them. Like one teacher was falling behind on her charting, and I went into Google Docs and found out that you can do voice recording. And so, okay, so here, instead of typing it, you can speak into this, kind of like what a doctor does on the fly in between their patients. So she's got a record there. Another teacher was looking at ways for keeping track of what her kids were doing in the classroom, and we showed her how to use the smartboard, and okay, we're gonna name this one, you know, this one's gonna be Deb B today. And we're gonna keep track of what she's working on. And then we're gonna open that file again next week and go to a new page and work through the stuff again. And then at the end of the quarter, you can go back and you can look at all your pages and see where we started and where they came from. So a lot of it's been, I didn't know that I could do that, or thank you for giving me this, or that's a great idea. Because when you got two heads working at something, you got twice as many people that are trying to get you to where you want to be. And I think that's the support that they're surprised with and that they're appreciating.
You were the staff member who went to a project-based learning approach. At our first staff meeting, or our first get-together meeting 2 weeks ago, she decided, I really wanted to always do this. Never done that before. Didn't have any background in rubrics. So we're flipping that classroom into a project-based learning, which is a phenomenal journey to start on. But I don't think she would have done it without the support that both of us can bring forth to the table to make that safe journey.
Any questions, folks?
Any other questions?
I put that slide up there, just, the whole purpose of this is to improve student learning. You know, I think we have some discussions, we want our students to have high academic achievement, and that doesn't mean we do something to the students. We help our teachers to, because we know that high student achievement, and one of the best indicators is the quality of the teacher in the classroom, and this is part of that support that we're looking to help our teachers get stronger, better, understand curriculum, understand and have more tools in their toolbox. So that's what this is, that's what these positions are about, and that's the new Teacher Center's philosophy. So this is the direction that we are on, and it's exciting. First year, we're learning a lot.
All right, any other questions for Joanne or Deb? Thank you, ladies.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Yep, thank you very much, appreciate it. All right, moving on to 6.1.3. Hello, Mr. Strasser.
Hello, everyone. Some of the things that I want to talk about tonight, first of all, we had parent-teacher conferences recently, and wanted to let you know that we had about a 34% attendance rate by parents at the middle and high school combined, which I thought was probably up a little bit compared to previous years. I don't have specific numbers, but I was very pleased with the turnout. And you know, it was noted it was a very busy week and we had activities going on, so I was pretty pleased with the overall attendance. I was even excited to see about a third of our conferences, so parents that came brought a student with. So I thought that was a nice sign to see that parents were bringing their kids to attend conferences. So one of the things we have going on this week, we're continuing our Native American connection with the Pipestone National Monument. Dr. Phyllis Messenger from the University of Minnesota is coming. She's going to talk to our middle school students about how our parks are managed and how they protect archaeology, historic architecture, traditional American Indian sites, and so forth. So that's on Friday. I think we're going to do that at 12:30. So just keeping that connection going and trying to bring in some unique perspectives for our students. Our ACT results came in, and for the 47 students, these are our non-juniors. So when we offer it on-site in the spring, this is not that group of students. These are kids that take it outside of that time. 47 students took the ACT, and we averaged a 20.6, which is consistent with what we have in previous years. And then the last thing, I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Steve Beekman. I believe you know he resigned from his role leading the Pipestone Coalition, and also in turn resigning from the STARS, and how he helped our STARS group here. And just wanted to say thank you to him and for all the work that he did. A lot of the positive things that you see around our school are a result of the Pipestone Coalition. It's not going away, but Steve took a different job, and I think the impact that he had in getting that going here was pretty cool. And the number of kids that are part of the STARS group is very healthy, and the role they're playing in making our school a great place is noted for his role. So
How many kids are in that group? Do you know?
yeah, it varies. They've got a nice leadership group of about 4 or 5 kids. I've seen it where they've done, they meet in the auditorium because they can't fit in this room. So I think anywhere from 30 to 50 kids will attend meetings. Usually get 50 when they have Subway. So, always plays a factor, but you're still getting a good message to them.
What year of the grant? Are we like in year 3
We're
of
about
it?
halfway through.
Okay.
Yep.
So they will try to replace Steve.
That is my understanding. Yep.
Is that high school only, or is that middle school and high school?
It's high school.
High school.
Yep. So those are the things I wanted to bring up. Any other questions?
I have to give you kudos. I've heard so many good things about homecoming week and how well behaved all the kids were and what a great group this is, and it's the best homecoming they've ever had. And they're like, okay, I mean, lots of different people have said that, so that's good to hear.
Thanks.
Can
Yeah.
we be thankful that 3 of the nights was it raining?
Give kudos to the kids.
Yes.
Come on.
Oh, definitely.
I think they all had a good time. I think it was.
Yeah. The seniors were very good about what they were going to be doing, and we had some good conversations, and we did have a little more fun. We played a little more Ironman volleyball because they kind of wanted that piece. And my knee still hurts because of it. It's little things like that you can do when they're really engaged, and it was a very good year for that. And I'm not sure exactly why, but and you can kind of see it when you go to our other activities and the student body and how they respond at those activities. They're just a really engaged group of kids right now. So
I heard from
I like
parents,
that.
and I heard from parents, and then when I was watching y'all play volleyball, but you had skills, Mr. Strauss. I didn't know that.
you get lucky
I mean,
once in a while.
all the teachers coming in, they were just all complimenting and saying what a great year this was, and this is the best homecoming ever.
Yeah,
So
it was good. I
just
know
for behavior-wise, and
just the parents that kind of helped with the after the football game function. There was, because of it being cold, we opted to have it inside. So appreciate the school allowing us to use the facility, which then allowed the coalition to pay for laser tag to be inside the gym. And so it was just, it, you know, took, I think a little bit for them to get it figured out. We let the men handle that, but, you know, I think it was a good turnout. Again, had bags out in the commons area, and kids were playing volleyball and basketball in some of the other gyms. And so I think it was a good turnout. You know, unfortunately the band had to get up early, so I don't think some of those kiddos stayed
Right.
super late, but, you know,
It was kudos
Some
to everyone,
didn't,
because I
but
heard
yeah.
that was awesome, the home, I mean, just
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
everyone, kudos to
Yeah.
the kids and to the parents and to everyone who organized it. It's
That
just,
was-
I've heard so many good comments
good.
about it this year, so just wanted to share.
Yeah, and one of the new things we did this year, we did a little talent show,
I
which
heard lots of good things.
was truly amazing because, you know, kids you wouldn't expect to go on a stage in front of their peers were on a stage in front of their peers, singing, cracking jokes, you know, showing off talent, things like that. So that was a lot of fun to see the expressive nature of kids that way.
I don't know if this ever would be possible or if we would just be insane doing it, but busing the elementary kiddos up for the Pet Fest.
Something, or.
You know, I know that one side of the gym, that's first Pet Fest that I've been to for a lot of years. But anyway, it was full, but I just don't know if you'd be able to pull it out, just to get those kids involved. I mean, I know the homecoming candidates kind of go through and they kind of do their thing, but just for them to kind of experience a little bit of the school spirit. I don't know, that was just some comments that somebody had asked, well, to the
Conversations for
elementary.
next year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway,
conversations for next
like I
year.
said, I don't know if that might be
Yeah.
a far stretch from kids' focus, but anyway,
Kudos to all.
just something to think about.
That was good. All right, any other questions for Mr. Strasser? All right, thank you, Corey. 6.1.4, Ms. Barban. Hello.
So just a couple of things, us too with conferences, our conference, we were 96% in attendance. We have 2 teachers who are holding conferences tonight because they had other things for homecoming. So they're holding their conferences tonight. So we'll get a better number after they're finished as well. Seemed to go very well. It was very busy. So, then we also had our Fall Fun Bash last Wednesday, and that was a lot of fun, and it sounds like we served over 500 hot dogs, so there was quite a few people there.
Yeah, yeah.
It was really fun, and like always, it's always such a good time, so it was good. Heard a lot of good things about that. Our preschool is still plugging away on our classroom engagement model, our CEM with the joint powers with MDE, and we are learning lots of strategies and doing some trainings with that, and to keep our students engaged in the preschool. And then next week is Red Ribbon Week in the elementary schools, and so we will be wearing red on Tuesday for drug and alcohol prevention, and there will be a coloring contest, so.
Yes. Yeah, I'll have those sheets tomorrow.
That's okay. No
Bob's
worries.
copier broke down.
So that's what's going on at the elementary school. So,
Thank you. Any questions for Tony? No? Thank you, Tony. All right, moving on to 6.2, school board members. Any reports? No?
Facility committee met, but I'm going to talk about
Okay.
construction management, so that was what we discussed in that committee.
Okay.
Just thank those of you that came to help at the Fall Bash. Appreciate any and all help that we had. It was a little muddier than planned out kind of by some of the inflatables, but
but it was okay.
there might have been a lot of socks in the
Nice weather,
garbage at the
though.
end of the night, but I think it was, you
I watched
know,
mine, they're good. We got 'em
kids had a
washed.
great time, and the inflatable guys didn't care. They're like, we get paid by the hour to clean it, so it's no big deal to us. So. But it was all a good time, so thank you for your help on that.
Thanks for all the organization too. Thank you. All right, 6.3, Superintendent Anderson.
Every month, we always have our enrollment numbers down a little bit. Not seeing as many, we used to have more come and go, not seeing as many coming. So I don't know what's going on there. This year, we're down on when students leave, nobody seems to fill their place, but so I don't know, we'll have to watch that here and see what's going on, but a little bit lower than what we were anticipating. The next item is construction management, and while we haven't made any decisions on what we're going to be doing with our elementary facilities, the survey is about complete. Maybe I'll jump around a little bit here. Our survey has been closed now. They continue to come in. The mail surveys are continuing to come in. We're up to almost 800 surveys have been returned, so I just want to say thank you to the community for responding and letting us know where we're at and what's going on there, so. And we,
When's the last time, is it November 7th? Is that when you can turn in, or what was?
No.
Or is it
October
October
17th.
Oh.
October 17th, yeah, last Friday or last
Oh, okay,
Wednesday.
that's what I was thinking, okay.
So we asked that they be in, but, you know, I think they get mailed, and, because I think I left on Friday and we were at 725, which I was like, yay, and then I come on Monday and we're at 750, and by the end of the day today, we're almost at 790, so they continue to come in, and we're getting good feedback on that, but we'll wait until we get all of that in. On November 7th, the next facility task force meeting, so of course the board is invited to attend that meeting. That's November 7th at 7 p.m. and I believe we'll meet in the choir room again. But at that time, we'll hear these survey results, and that's why we'd like you there to hear them also. The facility task force will have their discussion, and from that make their recommendation. And then on November 13th, the following Tuesday, we will have a special board meeting to hear that and consider that, and then at that point, the board will make a decision. If we do decide to do anything with our facilities and move forward with any type of construction process, the construction management company is something that we looked into. The facility committee, we had discussions about that. The reason why you bring a construction manager on is to basically be our advocate. They are there to manage the construction, give guarantees of in different ways and shapes and forms, which we'll learn more about. But I'm still here to run a school. I'll be still very involved with it, but you know, to manage a construction project, you really have to have an advocate. So the facilities committee has set up interviews for next Monday with R.A. Morton, Kraus Anderson. We did have Journey Group, but they withdrew their name from consideration. And J.E. Dunn is another company that does that, so we've asked them. So we'll have 3 that we'll consider. All are reputable companies. I think the facility committee, we talked, and really it's kind of like a relationship. You're looking for a team here that's gonna help the school district. So if we do decide to go forward, I think at that point we would probably bring on a construction manager that would then kind of walk with us through this process. We've been working closely with ISG, but now a construction manager will kind of step into more of that role. The committee felt that ISG, we would continue with them as our architect and engineering, and Springstead would be our financial thing. We do not have to go out for bids on these. These are professional services, so we can move forward without having to go forward with any of those things. So that's very common. We've been engaged here, so that's kind of where things are at. So next Monday is the interviews for these different companies. If any board member wants to come, the committee is Randy and Tammy and Lance. Lance isn't sure that he can make it, so I don't know if anybody is interested in helping out there.
Monday at what time?
5 to
Start at 5 till we're done.
about 9:30, 10 o'clock.
That's what
I know Jeff has expressed some interest in maybe sitting in, but anybody, I mean, even if more than 3 of you want to be there, but I still think the committee has been working well to have them make a recommendation to the full board. And then we can put out the facts and still give consideration at the November 13th meeting. It seems like that's been a working for us with these other things. But it is a big one, so if anybody wanted to sit in, I don't see there'd be a problem with that. We just have to call it a work session then, so.
I can't be there, sorry.
Yeah, it'll be in here, right?
Yeah, right in here.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at with those next steps with this whole process. So, and like I said, the survey looks to be getting the good feedback. They wanted 400, so we're almost doubled that. So again, thank the committee or the community for sharing their input. We'll be going through that and reading, looking at all of that data. So hate to get too far ahead of anything, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. But that's where we're at with that. So
Any questions for Superintendent Anderson on any three of those? Enrollment, construction manager, the community survey? Any questions? No? Okay. All right, let's move on. No old business, so let's move on to new business. 8.1, approved transportation contract with Edgerton Christian School for 18-19 school year. Say anything?
they're a little behind getting it to us. But we are required to transport students in our district, private school or not. And since we do not have a private school in our district, the nearest one counts, so we have some responsibilities for transporting within our district. The rates have been the same for quite a few years, and this is the agreement we've had with them for a long time. They bus the kids, and they charge us per student per day. And that's what we need to do.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the transportation contract with Edgerton Christian?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Botts. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Erdman. Any other questions? Comments? Any other questions or comments or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the transportation contract with Edgerton Christian School for 18-19 school year signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8.2, approved contract for Mr. Enerson, superintendent. So the negotiations committee, and I don't know who that is.
Yes, maybe.
Okay.
Those three.
You right there. The negotiations committee and the superintendent have come to an agreement on his contract, and it's a 3-year contract, so it's for 1920, 2021, 21, 22. So, do I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Botts. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Thanks for making the decision. I think they're at the same time. Thank you, Marcy, Mrs. Bales. Any other discussion on the contract? Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the contract for Mr. Enerson, our superintendent, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And thank you to the committee for all the work that you do on those
Thank you.
negotiations.
I'd just like to say thank you to the school district. This has been a good fit so far, and been enjoying working and serving the community and the students and the staff, and appreciate having another 3 years to continue this work. I think we got a lot of good things we're doing, and so appreciate all of you and your support, and letting me know what you want me to do. So,
That's what we've done so far.
all right.
All right, 8.3. Set the date to canvass election results, November 13th, special meeting. Do you want to say any more since you said a little bit? or-
Well, we're having a special meeting, and not just for canvassing the election. We have that on the agenda. We have the task force recommendation consideration, and also construction management services if we decide to go that way. So it's a special meeting. We've got 3 items on the agenda. That's what we plan to cover there. But we are having an election for school board, so we do have to canvass that.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the date to canvass the election results and also to add those other special?
That meeting will be at 7 p.m.
7 p.m., thank you.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Erdman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Taubert. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Any other comments, questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the canvas date and the other discussion, the 3 items on November 13th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8.4, first reading of policy 503, student attendance.
This is one, student attendance policies are pretty common. We didn't have one for the district. We have attendance procedures that each of our buildings do, but we really want to have policy that supports and backs up our procedures. So I'm going to work with the principals and if there's any other staff members we need to get involved, but we need to go through, the biggest things is what do you, the school district has the authority to allow more excusable absences than what state requires. I was looking, the state says you have to be here. The only reason you can't be in school is if you're sick, got a court appointment. I think there's only 4 reasons why: family emergency, and military service or something. I mean, basically, other than that, the state says be in school, appointments, all that, whereas school districts have a little bit more flexibility. So we're going to work to make sure that we're aligned, because I don't want to have that the middle school, high school says this is excused and the elementary says it's not, or if there is a reason, we want to get that exception and have that stipulation in our policy. So I'd like the school board policy to support our attendance procedures. It's a little bit, should be done the other way around, but it's one of those I just didn't see that we didn't have an attendance policy, so. First reading, we'll come back if there's any changes, we'll get those lined up for you next meeting.
Okay, thank you. 8.5 and 8.6 and 8.7, we can do all those together.
Yep.
First reading of teacher seniority list, first reading of secretary, custodian, tech assistant, and AP seniority list, and then first reading of paraprofessional seniority list.
Each year, we need to have our seniority list for these bargaining units. Some of their layoff and recall procedures are based on their seniority, so where they're at on their list. And we need to do that every year and have them updated. So they've been out. I believe they've had a chance to look, but we will give them the next month to, if there's any changes or adjustments that need to be made, and then we'll finalize it in November.
Okay, thank you. 8.8, approve the resolution of support for the Minnesota State High School League Foundation application for grant for student participation.
I think twice a year they give out grants to schools based on free and reduced lunch rates, so you can help offset some of the costs and fees that we have, schools have. So this is kind of our fall grant application that we send in and get back a few $1,000s maybe, hopefully. We get some money from the state for this, and then we do it again in the spring, so.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the resolution of the support for the Minnesota State High School League for the grant?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Weiss. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Pals. Any other discussion? Any questions? Any other?
Just, do we have like a way to notify besides some student coming in? Because a lot of students are probably pretty proud to come in and ask for help, but maybe not. But I mean, is there something like in our policy manual that would state that there are funds available for kids that are unable to or can't afford to participate? Just so that it's out there. I mean, I know that there have been some kids that didn't do a sport because their parents couldn't afford to put them in it and didn't know that, otherwise they would have paid it. So I just want to make sure that we let our students know that there's
How is it being communicated?
that available. I guess that's
I guess we
Short
don't
question.
publicize that, but we do work with kids on an individual basis when we have a sense that
yeah.
there's a need. So we do support some students that way.
Right. I just, not everybody knows that it's there, and sometimes it's too late. Why didn't that person go out? Why did that person go out?
Athletic help fund.
Yeah, and maybe that's probably what I'm talking about, is that
Yeah.
I know that that's there,
Yeah.
but, okay, I mean, you don't want to obviously advertise and then everybody say I can't, but
So they're
just want to make sure.
communicating. Yeah, they're communicating. All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Thoughts? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution of support for the Minnesota State High School League Foundation application for grant for student participation, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8.9, approve memorandum of understanding, hiring, rehiring of retired teachers.
I think it was back in August or July, negotiations committee. We had a meet and confer and talked with the teachers about this memorandum of understanding. The teacher's contract, the only way, if you ever want to put anything in, they're usually closed up, you know, because they've been settled. But you can do memorandums if there's things that come up, and we were approached last spring about this concept of retire, rehire, and we did some investigating, and the school district and this teacher sat down, worked out a few little things from a sample copy of a retire, rehire, and the teachers have accepted this, so we're putting it in for, as an MOU. The idea would be is that when the teachers next year, they have to negotiate a new contract, because this is the second year of their contract, we would then move this into regular language and it wouldn't be an MOU. So when you read it, it's only in effect for this year. It really is in effect with this current contract. And so we'll look to put this in. And what it does is it's a good, if a teacher retires and we can rehire them to teach, and the district would save some dollars because they would be able to draw their pension and we wouldn't have to pay in on their TRA, and there's just a number of things that are good. But you have to be able to, and this gives us the ability to negotiate individually with those teachers that way, so. But negotiations committee, they just came back with it, so now we're putting it in here, but they've approved it, so. I think
Right, do I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding done
Before we get off.
rehiring retired teachers?
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Erdman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Taubert. Any other discussion? Any other questions? Any other comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the memorandum of understanding, the hiring, rehiring of retired teachers, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8.10, approve memorandum of understanding, tiered licensure transition.
this year, they've changed the licensing for teachers. New teachers, they're coming out with different tiers. Tier 4 is your traditional continuing contract teacher, veteran teacher who's been around, fully licensed. Tier 3 is a probationary teacher who hasn't met the continuing contract. Tier 2 is more like what we used to have as variances. They maybe have a teaching license or they're enrolled in a teacher ed program. So they would be classified as Tier 2. And then there's Tier 1, which is much like the community expert. Also probably doesn't have a teaching license or anything in that area. Both Tier 1 and Tier 2 are probationary. And in state law, it says Tier 1 cannot be a part of the bargaining unit. So the Minnesota School Board Association and Education Minnesota together drafted this language for school districts to put into the teacher contracts to cover these Tier 1, Tier 2, and some of the details that could happen, because we may have a veteran teacher who needs to teach out of their license area and maybe a Tier 1 or Tier 2. This is saying that they still are a Tier 4 teacher or Tier 3, and it doesn't go in. And then also that Tier 1 and Tier 2 are in perpetual probationary status, which, you know, means that their continuing contract rights are not there, so. But this is language that, again, the negotiations committee reviewed, said, yep, looks good. We met with the teachers, they agreed to it, so, again, I recommend the board approve this memo.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for the tiered licensure transition? Thank you, Mrs. Weiss. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Botts. Any other discussion? Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the MOU, tiered licensure transition, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Erdman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Pals. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned.